Live from KSAT 12. The 6 o'clock news starts right now.
The waters of the Guadalupe River rushing over its banks, sending floodwaters into several Texas Hill Country communities. Texas state officials saying that at least 13 people have died. Many more were left stranded, and rescuers are reportedly having ongoing rescue efforts as we speak.
So when did this all start? Well, it came during the night when people were asleep in their beds, and they were awakened right in the middle of the night with water surrounding them. It's just terrifying. The Guadalupe River starts over in Kerr County, and then it flows through the Hill Country in Kerrville, Hunt, and Ingram, and those specific communities were hit especially hard. But the rains are also impacting those in Bandera. We know that an evacuation order was issued earlier today as officials try and keep a close eye on the Medina River. Now, our team coverage continues across the Hill Country. We have live reports coming from Courtney Friedman and Sarah Costa. They're in Kerrville. Our Zaria Oates is over along Spring Branch, and Daniela Ibarra is in Ingram.
We have so much team coverage. We want to get to the latest from Kerr County officials, though. Take a listen here.
We deal with floods on a regular basis. When it rains, we get water. We had no reason to believe that this was going to be anything like what's happened here.
All right, so now we want you to take a look at that. You see that photo that you see right there? It was sent to us from a KSAT viewer. It shows campers forced to wade through ankle-deep water just west of Kerrville over at Camp Mystic. That's an all-girls camp. You've heard us talk a lot about Camp Mystic throughout the day. Even the lieutenant governor referencing that particular camp because it can hold up to 750 campers. We know that about 6 to 10 inches of rain fell last night into this morning along in the Kerrville area. And early on, the parents of those girls were understandably concerned about where their daughters were. And according to an email that was obtained by KSAT, some of those girls were unaccounted for, and their parents, the parents of those children who were unaccounted for, have been notified. But as of yet, we haven't yet found out whether or not they've been located. We also don't know exactly how many people are unaccounted for. We don't know how many people are missing. The email that I referenced a moment ago that was sent to the parents who have children in Camp Mystic stated that the highway in that area where Camp Mystic is was just washed by floodwaters. Now, waiting to be reunified with her mother is the daughter of the mother of Eloise Peck.
She sent us a photo of Eloise and her friend, Lila Bonner. The girls were at Camp Mystic at this hour. Still no word on their whereabouts. If you have any information or questions about friends and family that may be missing, you can call the Red Cross. That number is here on your screen. It is 1-800-733-2767. Again, any information, any questions you may have, the Red Cross is helping in this process to help find people missing after this devastating flood. That number is right there on your screen. Those were just 2 of the 23 reported missing girls. We heard the lieutenant governor say 20-something from Camp Mystic. We should point out that there are several camps in this area, and that is the only one. Camp Mystic is the only one that the lieutenant governor said they had any reports of kids missing. Now, this afternoon, Kerr County officials held another media briefing to update parents about their children that were at those camps along the Guadalupe.
Our Garrett Berger was there with what's being done to get those who are stranded by floodwaters now to safer grounds. Garrett, what can you tell us about that?
Well, we know that the rescue efforts are ongoing, and you can hear actually a helicopter flying over past right now. That's a Texas DPS helicopter that's just flying down the Guadalupe. The search and rescue efforts still ongoing right now as we speak. And those missing girls from Camp Mystic, or possibly some staff members, they are not the only ones who have family wondering where they are. We're at one of 2 reunification spots. This is the Arcadia Live. It's a downtown theater in Kerrville, right along the Guadalupe. But we don't know how many people are missing in all, and local officials refused to answer questions today, including on the exact number of people missing from Camp Mystic. Now, that last press conference we had with local officials was about 3:40 this afternoon. They had just one hard number for us. but it is a very hard number. The 13 people found dead so far, with the sheriff saying more are likely to be found, but rescue operations still ongoing.
We've got a lot of help out there. We'll be able to do the job. It's just going to take some time. But I ask everybody to shelter in place, okay, if you can. That's what I'd like to get out. Please shelter in place. Well, we're working really hard. We don't have a number of how many are missing. Obviously, we're working hard and around the clock to do that.
Now, if you have any family missing, city and county officials are telling people to call the Red Cross so you can get some information. They'll get your information, put you on a list. The number on your screen is 1-800-733-2767. Again, 1-800-733-2767. You call the Red Cross. There are 2 reunification centers. This one over at Arcadia Live, the theater in downtown Kerrville, has been pretty quiet. There hasn't been that many people coming through. It seems the other one at Ingram Elementary, about 6 miles upriver over in Ingram, Texas, is much busier, and there are shelters around the area that have been opened. We've got them listed out on our website, KSAT.com. Right now, though, you can see the river behind me has gone down. You can see from the branches high up on these tree limbs, though, just how high the water got. And it's still moving on at a pretty fast clip. So the waters haven't fully receded, but fortunately it seems that the worst is over here in this area as far as the flood. Live in Kerrville, Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
This home floated about the length of a football field down the Guadalupe River when the flash flood rose quickly into the homes on Waterfront Drive in Kerrville along Bandera Highway and Loop 534. And this is what's left of that home, completely leveled by the river behind it. And the neighbors tell us they fear that the people who lived here may have not survived. And we spoke with the people who live next door, and they walk us through what happened.
But I had no idea that something like this could happen. And then, holy stuff started to hit the walls, and my wife jumped up and looked out the back porch, and it was a river.
Scott Walden and his wife say the water came in so fast there was no time to evacuate.
By the time I went to get my keys to move my truck out of the way, to just back up across the street, the water had risen and flooded my truck. The water got up there in the door about this high, and I looked at my wife, and it was like, we need to get out of here.
That water too strong and fast, sweeping them down the river.
We went ahead and jumped out, and we got washed down 3 houses, and we finally ended up snagged on a big bush. So we hung onto the bush until we got rescued.
They hung onto a crepe myrtle tree for about 30 minutes before they were rescued by police officers who formed a human chain.
We were kind of going, hey, hope this isn't it.
Walden says they are grateful to be alive, saying his destroyed home and cars are just material things.
Yeah, this is just stuff.
Neighbor Irma Cantu says they live a couple of houses over, fortunate their home is safe and they were able to evacuate quick enough. Feeling overwhelmed.
A feeling of sadness because, even the people that were here weren't expecting this to happen.
As they pick up the pieces and continue to look for neighbors and loved ones, she hopes it's a time where the community can stand strong.
Helping each other this is when we need to come together and help each other out.
Sarah Costa, KSAT 12 News.
We mentioned those 2 reunification centers set up in the Kerrville area. One is located at Ingram Elementary School on Brave Run West. And the other location that our Garrett Berger mentioned is the Arcadia Live venue that is on Water Street. We do know reunifications are happening as we speak. In addition, there are 4 shelters set up in Kerrville for those who have been displaced. Those shelter locations are right here on your screen. The First United Methodist Church, Calvary Temple Church, Notre Dame Catholic Church, and the Shriner University Event Center. Also in Comfort, shelters have been set up there at Comfort High School, the Emmanuel Lutheran Church, and the Lobby Coffee Shop. All of this information you can find by scanning that QR code. You can also find it on our website at ksat.com.
All right, Myra, so we talked about reunification centers, and we want to go back out live to one. Our Daniela Ibarra is live in Ingram. She's outside of Ingram Elementary with how that recovery is going at this hour. She's seen a number of buses go through with children waiting to be reunified with their parents. Daniela, what can you tell us right now?
Yeah, so right now you were looking at what looks like a military van. I believe it's a Texas National Guard. They've been dropping off people. This is the second time we've seen them come by. That bus is empty, though. They've taken people off. It was about maybe a dozen, if not 20 people on that truck that they've taken off, some of them kids, some of them adults. This has been the reunification site where we've been watching reunifications go on for the past hour and a half or so. A lot of families of some of the campers that you've been talking about have been here at this site. Now, this is as close as we can get to the parents right now. We've just kind of seen them walk past us, but earlier when we were talking to some of the parents, they didn't want to go on camera because we actually have another bus coming up, so I'll give it a second to get here, but we've talked to some parents who, have been waiting for their campers. They didn't want to talk with us until they had their campers in their arms. So I'm going to give it a second. That way the bus can come up. But I believe this is the 5th or 6th bus that we've seen come by right here. They're going to come up here on my right-hand side. Looks like several little girls are on board. A couple of them waving at us. One who looks like she's crying but smiling, looks relieved. And that relief is something that we've seen many of the parents have once they've seen their little girls. It's a little emotional to talk about just because, we've seen so many of these parents who have been emotional. We actually talked with the parent right now who still doesn't know where his little girl is. So at least some good news right now for the families who have daughters, nieces on this bus right here. So this is what's going on right now here at Ingram Elementary. Like I said, 5th or 6th bus filled with little girls, some of them waving. Like I said, one of them smiling but looked like she was crying, just relieved to be here. It's hard to even imagine what they've gone through over the last 12 hours. I know there's some parents still waiting to find out where their little girls are, and like I said, one of them was here waiting. So I'll send it back to you for right now.
Yeah, Daniela, it's, I can understand you being emotional watching it, seeing those little girls pull up, and then they're minutes away from being in the arms of their parents, thank God. And, it's tough to stand here and watch that, but I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad that these parents are getting some good news. And, the rescuers, the first responders, it is an all hands on deck with 400 to 500 first responders, many of whom are from the San Antonio area, who are there trying to find those loved ones, children, adults, anyone who is still missing at this hour.
Yeah, and those are the people that, our hearts are with them right now, right? Because I would think that it would be very difficult to watch other parents being unified with their children, and they're still waiting to hear any sign, because it's also been difficult with Wi-Fi down and cell service down. So our prayers, our thoughts are with them right now. But now we want to go over to Courtney Friedman. She's been in Kerrville all day long along the Guadalupe River, where people were evacuated earlier this morning.
Yeah, Courtney, what are you looking at from where you all are set up?
Well, a lot of it's what we're looking at, but some of it's what we're hearing as well. We have been hearing and seeing these rescue helicopters come through very low to the ground. So you said hundreds of them. We are seeing that firsthand. So, of course, we are so happy to hear about those reunifications. Hopefully, with the amount of power and strength of these helicopters, we will be seeing more of those. We can hear one in the distance, and we'll point it out if it passes us during this live shot. But we have talked to a lot of people throughout the day here in Kerrville along the river. They all say the same thing. They've lived here a long time and they have never seen anything like this. If you look to this side of me, you can see how fast this river is flowing. Of course, it has receded since the massive part of the floods early this morning, but it is still going pretty quickly. And they were shocked to see that it took out homes. It took out cars, obviously swept away people. And look at the snapped trees behind me. You can't even count them. The bark has been ripped off of them. And so basically the people we've talked to the most, there are houses right here across the street. And we've been talking to some of the folks that have been evacuated. And basically what they're saying mostly is that they feel grateful to be alive today. A terrifying 5 a.m. wake-up call for Jonathan Meyer and his daughter Isla.
The upper headwaters and were rising. City officials did a great job of letting people know along the river what was coming down the lines.
Their house is directly across the street from the Guadalupe River in Kerrville, and they said the water made it up 3 of their front steps.
It was definitely shocking to see it get that high.
As for Isla, she was at Vista Camp in Hunt 2 weeks ago, but never expected to see remnants of that camp 20 miles down the river where she lives.
One of your canoes, it said your camp's name on that.
Well, it said our tribe. We have like a tribe, and it showed our Sioux.
It was just one of many things they've seen in the river. And we're getting a view of how fast that water was moving, taking out massive trees, ripping the bark off, and not even just breaking them in half, but bending over. You can see how fast the water is moving now. It must have been moving so much faster before. And this is how high up it was. Up to this tree, broke this tree, trapped this inner tube, and left debris like a camping chair and a hat behind.
I wanted to cry when we drove over the bridge. I was like, this is horrible. So bad. We've never seen it this bad before. We've had flooding, not to this extent. It's a catastrophe.
Yeah, we've heard that this is worse than the flood in, I think, 87 or so. This is worse than that one.
Jared and Hannah Johnson were supposed to host a July 4th party, but their house had flooding. Still, they're grateful to have their lives. They and Myers both have the same thing in mind, helping however they can.
Help's going to be needed in the coming days, on the cleanup and picking up and recovery of things. So,
So you'll be ready for that part?
We're ready for that, and anybody that wants to come and help and volunteer their time.
Help is one message. Another message is to continue being safe. Just because the water has receded from way up where it was early this morning does not mean it can't rise again. And our meteorologists have been very clear about this. Once it gets dark again, it will be difficult to see how far the level of this water is. So please, if you are out there and you are close to this river area, if you are being asked to stay evacuated, please heed those warnings, because our rescuers and first responders, hundreds of them, are out here already trying to find people who have been swept away by these waters. And we do not want to add to that number of people. And we also just want you to be safe. So as the water continues to flow, if it starts to rise, we are backing up little by little, but it looks like it's not rising substantially right now. But we are keeping a close eye on that. And of course, heeding the warnings that we're giving you as well. For now, we're live in Kerrville. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
Courtney, thank you.
Yeah,
It'll be a while before we hear the word aftermath, obviously, because down the river, the Guadalupe River, Adam's been talking about the flooding that we are going to be seeing later today. But the thing is, I do want to focus for a moment on Kerrville, because a bulk of our coverage has centered around Kerrville. Is the flooding going to get any worse there in the near future, Adam, or are they done?
Yeah, they're done with the worst of the flooding. The water level will fluctuate a little bit in the hours ahead, but the worst of it is done in Kerrville. The worst of it's done in Comfort area. Sisterdale, the worst of the flooding is done. Now that swell of water is headed toward this spot right here that I've been talking so much about. This is Highway 281 crossing over the Guadalupe River. Look how low it is right now. However, later on tonight, I anticipate the water to be up above this roadway, above the roadway. So it's calm right now, but give it hours. I mean, 4 or 5 hours and the water's likely to be up over Highway 281. So this is the location that we're talking about. You look at that picture now, just wait to see what it looks like after the swell of water moves through. And the thing is, we're watching for another potential bullseye of heavy rainfall somewhere in our area as we get into tomorrow. And the concern would be somewhere in the hill country again. Here's our futurecast, and notice just light showers here and there, sprinkles, really nothing to make the situation any worse later this evening and tonight. Then we get into tomorrow on your Saturday. We have this little focal point in our upper levels that could reignite some heavy downpours tomorrow morning on into tomorrow midday and tomorrow afternoon. Now you look at it here, and it has the bullseye right over, say, Kendall County. Don't pay close attention to that exact placement. It could be a little farther to the east over Canyon Lake. It could be, again, near Kerrville. It could be down near Hondo. It's just that we're watching for another bullseye of several inches of rain, possibly. If this model were to verify, we could have 6 to 12 inches of rain again tomorrow in parts of the hill country. So you need to exercise caution again tomorrow. So it starts raining. Be aware and be weather wise, and the flash flooding potential, I think, is there again as we get into tomorrow. All right, well, coming up later, we'll have an update on the 7-day forecast, get a look at the extended forecast. Sunday is going to be a lot quieter. We'll have just partly cloudy skies and a stray shower possible.
All right, thanks, Adam. We'll be checking back in with you. For now, we're going to take a quick break. We have more continuing coverage on this still breaking news situation happening in the hill country and beyond right after this. All right, welcome back here to our continuing coverage of the devastating flooding in the hill country, rescues, reunifications, and more eyes on what's happening downstream.
So we know that with more rain in the forecast, unfortunately, because it hasn't stopped, those downstream from the Guadalupe River may be concerned about the river levels this evening into the night.
And so our Zaria Oates is live now in Spring Branch, where people living there, they're being told that the river is expected to rise. It's going to happen fast. Adam Caskey's been watching it. And Zaria, I hope you guys are at a safe distance, well off the road. I want safety to be number one here, but that bridge behind you, that's Highway 281. Is that right, with the Guadalupe underneath?
Yeah, we're just off of Highway 281. We are in a safe place. This median is quite wide, and we're in that area, the grassy area, off from the side of the road and off from the shoulder. This bridge right here is looking over the Guadalupe River. But if you look on the other side over here, this bridge is an older bridge, to say the least, but there are also people walking on the other side of the bridge, very close to the edge. Also on the other side where it kind of slopes down towards where you can head towards the river. That is something we very clearly want to stay away from. We've already talked to these people twice before about how dangerous this flooding could be, and we've been telling you on air that this is going to come quick and it's going to come soon. We're looking at trying to get people out of here at 7:30 p.m. But again, we're seeing lots of people already on the road, still driving at a pretty high rate of speed for the water to already be making these roads slick. Now, we are trying to keep people informed about how bad this flooding is going to be. But again, we've been hearing from lots of people that they are not concerned. So we are here to tell you that we are expecting the floodwaters to rise several feet up in the air and this bridge to be covered. And we're also expecting lots of debris to come down this way. There's lots of trash in the river area over there. We can't quite see it just from the vantage point that we're able to get from here, but I saw a large trash can, lots of trash, clothing items, not to mention all of the trees and tree branches. So that will also play a factor in the things that come onto these roads as those floodwaters start to rise. And we'll be out in Spring Branch as the waters rise, and we'll try to stay in a safe distance, both away from the road and of course trying to stay away from these floodwaters. But if you are in the Spring Branch area and you are living in either a low water rising area or in an area near 281 near this bridge, make sure you're evacuating as early as possible. Live in Spring Branch, I'm Zaria Oates.
Yeah, with Zaria, with the amount of water that's expected to come through there, thank you for that report, by the way. We know that Adam Caskey was talking about water could be up over that white metal bridge that was behind her there. The Guadalupe is well under that, but with the flow that we are expecting, water could be up above the road, up above that bridge. So keep that in mind. If you know anybody in that area, if you know anybody who's traveling, if you had plans to travel, let people know as quickly as possible.
Okay, so she was there in Spring Branch. Now we have Katrina Weber that is in Bandera, and she's set to join us live now where evacuations were underway.
Well, yeah, we did see some evacuations earlier in some of the RV parks along the Medina River here. And now it seems though they were being extra cautious, but now it seems that the attention has turned to more of a curiosity. People coming out here to look at this river, take pictures, take selfies, take video. of water that they haven't seen this high in quite a while. I can tell you that this water is usually well beyond the line of those trees. So for it to come this close to the shore and to be this deep and swift moving, that is definitely a spectacle for people who live here. But for others, they were cautious. They got out of the way. Let me give you a look at the video from earlier as they were leaving one of the RV parks along this river. They took this warning. They got a warning from the sheriff's office to get out of the way, and they took it very seriously. They got out very quickly. We saw people driving out with their RVs, others who were staying behind to sort of pack up things, pack up some of the property at the park itself, and just make sure that they got out of the way. Now, in some cases, neighbors had to help neighbors get their things out of the way and to get to safety.
It's crazy, and thank God for this community. They are absolutely beautiful. Makes me, a little teary-eyed, but yeah, they're amazing.
So again, a lot of caution was taken by people in some of the RV parks and who were along the river, but now people are just coming out to see the spectacle. It seems that this is not really a threat, but it is definitely something that they don't get to see every day, and that's exactly what they are doing right now. We're live in Bandera. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
All right, Katrina, thank you. We got Adam Caskey here standing by, obviously the latest on where this system is right now, but most importantly, how quickly this water is rising. You mentioned some areas in the Bergheim area, some water levels there, 40 plus feet in a matter of a couple hours.
Yeah, it's now up to 48 feet, and at 2:30 p.m. it was at 5 feet. Right, so 4 hours and it's 42 feet, 43 feet up, yeah, give or take with the level right now. So that's how significant it is. This isn't a rain story anymore. This is the swelling of the Guadalupe River. This is the concern and the story going forward. And where Zaria was, you saw the truss bridge. That's the southbound lanes on 281. And the truss on them, so they've got two separate bridges there. Northbound, no cover to it. You don't have the iron truss. You do on the southbound. And as that water rises, I anticipated to get up over the roadway on those bridges. But then also those bridges, especially the trusses, and I've seen this in my experience with river flooding up in North Dakota and stuff, they can create log jams, literally log jams, right? From all the debris. You saw the debris, you saw the trees, the sticks, everything that was just picked up, the branches, and even some trees have been uprooted and carried downstream from the power of that water. And then it hits those bridge trusses and it can cause a little dam. And then that can make the situation worse, especially then when that dam does break.
When it gives way.
If it gives way, then that can cause more issues and a greater surge and just make it a worse situation. So that's what I look at in these types of scenarios when it's a swell of water. The water is going to go from at Spring Branch, where it's already happening, like Guadalupe River State Park. We don't have a gauge there, but it's happening. It's going to be like this, and then in a matter of an hour, it's going to be 3 basketball hoops above your head, basically.
And that's why we've said it all day, but I don't think we can say it too many times. Even if you're somewhere along the river, you're somewhere downstream, and it looks fine now, it's not going to stay that way. I mean, this water is coming, it will be rising, and there is the concern about, loss of life and property in other areas that are downstream.
Now, Canyon Lakes should be okay. This is where we're saying it's a good thing Canyon Lake is so low, because it should be able to handle this swell of water no problem, because it's at 46% full. It's less than half full right now. So this isn't like some of the other flood situations where we've had overflowing over the dam, right? This is not like that because, well, there's still a lot of dam and it should be able to handle this swell, and it's really just going to fill up Canyon Lake. But everybody to the west side of Canyon Lake, up the Guadalupe as it enters into Canyon Lake, everybody along the river there needs to seek higher ground. Now, between Canyon Lake and down into New Braunfels, should be fine.
Should be fine because the lake's going to catch it all.
That's what it does. The dam there, it's a reservoir. I hate referring to it as a lake because that implies a constant water level. It's a man-made reservoir that is to catch, that can catch these floodwaters and then control them downstream too. Pretty much all of our rivers here are dammed up along the way. That's why we have lakes, because of all the series of dams. And so they catch these swells of water, and Canyon Lake is like a catcher's mitt right now, and that ball of water is coming, and it should just be able to swallow it up just like that. And then on the other side of the dam, You could tube the river today and be fine. That's the difference we're looking at here. We're looking at loss of life on one side and then recreation on the other side because of the man-made structures, and how we try to control water to the best of our ability.
Yeah, and what we want to do here is make sure that everyone who is in between that area, between, Kerrville and Canyon Lake, knows that this is a threat, a real threat, that water level is rising. Get out of the way. Don't waste any time with it, especially when this is set to happen in the evening hours, at night, when more people are around and in their homes.
And
can't see much.
Yeah, the worst of it is already past Comfort, that surge, right? And then it's a slow recession of the water. The worst of it's basically hit Sister Dale. It's just outside of Bergheim. And now it's Guadalupe River State Park, which is right on the Kendall-Comal County line. It splits it right there. Luckily, we have rangers and stuff at those stations that I'm pretty sure got word out very quickly to anybody camping along the Guadalupe River there or anywhere just in that vicinity. But then it's all the way through Spring Branch, and there's more recreation along there. And it happens fast. And by 9 o'clock and minutes thereafter, that water on the Guadalupe at Spring Branch is going to quickly, significantly rise. So that's the concern into the night.
We're going to get an update from leaders from Kerr County at 7:30, and then we're going to hear from the state at 9 o'clock. And you can only imagine that by then, when we hear from the state, we'll hear about more resources maybe being taken to the areas that are downstream from the Guadalupe River that you were talking about, where we're going to see some of that river rising. But hopefully those people there have had more than enough time to get out so that we don't see the damage and honestly the devastation that we have seen in Kerrville.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. We've got more of our continuing coverage right after this. Welcome back here to our continuing coverage of this devastating flooding in the Kerrville and Hill Country area. We've been talking about reunifications. We now have some new information on some of those that are happening as we speak.
So we know that there are multiple reunification centers. Daniela Ibarra, when she spoke to us a few times earlier today, she was over at Ingram Elementary School. She's now moved 5 minutes west of there to Talmore High School, where we know that helicopters have been dropping off some children. Daniela, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those helicopters. We just got here maybe about 5 minutes ago, but let me show you what's going on this road. This is Highway 39 right here. Earlier today when we first got here, this was blocked off, so this is the first time we've been in this section. So you can see they're actually towing away, it looks like a San Antonio fire truck that just drove past. But I want you to look at all this damage right here. This is all stuff that looks like it's washed up on the side of this fence right here. Looks like a lot of debris, a lot of broken tree limbs, and then there's something really big in that fence over there. I can't quite make out what it is right now, but we have some school buses actually heading down the road right here. I'm not sure where they're headed. Right now we're next to the high school, and I can tell you at the high school, Josh, I don't know if you want to pan over here on the fence. That way you can see some of the lights over here. We can't get too close of a look. This is as close as we can get. But it looks like San Antonio Fire Department's, their STRAC truck is out here. This is something that they take out when there are mass casualty events or big emergencies just like this. So from what I can see, there's a couple people. And just before you guys came to me, I saw one of those military trucks. It looked red, have a couple people in it. And it looks like some fire trucks that had some people in it. I couldn't really get a good look. But we can't get into the high school, so this is as close of a look as we can get as to what's going on here. But like I said, we just got here, so this is all we've been seeing so far. We're going to stay out here, and hopefully we'll let you know if we see more people being rescued or being brought here to the school.
Yeah, Daniela, keep us updated. I know that's where we're expecting to see some of those helicopters that have been bringing kids in, I believe, from Camp Mystic. We'll find out if they're coming from other places as well. But yeah, keep us updated if that begins to happen. It's good news to hear that Daniela, when she was over at Ingram Elementary, was literally seeing busloads of kids start to arrive, because we know as these reunifications are happening, there are still several girls, specifically from Camp Mystic, who are unaccounted for.
And the reason that we talk about them, the children there being girls specifically, it's because that's an all-girls camp, Catholic camp. And so we're going to send things on over now to Garrett Berger. I believe he's joining us from Kerrville. He's standing by live with the report. Let's go to him outside of Arcadia.
Absolutely. I'm at the Arcadia Live Theater. This was going to be the site of a 4th of July celebration today. Instead, it's one of 2 reunification centers where officials are telling people to go and to call in to the Red Cross to try to find information about their loved ones. When we heard from local officials just a few hours ago, they did not have very much specific information to give us. The only hard number we heard was a very hard one, that there were 13 fatalities so far, 13 people found dead, and that number likely to rise. Otherwise, they were vague on details and refused to answer any questions, including whether the warning the lieutenant governor says went out to mayors and county judges ahead of time was in fact received. Now, in the meantime, families wait for word. We talked with some parents who drove over from Fort Worth. They'd heard their son's camp was safe, but when they saw some disturbing video, they drove 4 hours immediately, because of course you do, after they heard, and now they're waiting here to be able to see him.
Yeah, it's definitely a mix of emotions because we keep hearing good things about Camp La Junta and the boys there. We hear directly from the camp counselor that everyone's safe, that they've been fed, and that they're in good spirits. And we just got another text message just maybe 10 minutes ago that said that they airdropped food and water.
Now, because of closed roads, the family says they haven't yet been able to see their son, so they are anxious about that. But they are one of the fortunate ones. They've heard word that he is okay. I just spoke with a woman who drove down from Dallas. She says her mother and sister were at one of the cabins, like it seems like it was a rental out on the riverside. Water rose quickly. They do not know where they are right now, and they're waiting for word. You can feel just how terrible that in between is when you don't know what's happening. Now, so there are a lot of people feeling that way right now. City and county officials have said that if you're missing family members, you should call the Red Cross. The number's on your screen, 1-800-733-2767. Again, 1-800-733-2767. That's the Red Cross. Now, here in Kerrville, the Arcadia Live is one of 2 reunification centers. The other one is at Ingram Elementary School, about 6 miles upstream in Ingram, Texas. You'd be able to provide your information, hopefully find out some more. And unfortunately, we have heard from people here at Arcadia Live that folks who are looking to possibly identify bodies be routed over to the Grimes Funeral Home. As we mentioned, there were at least 13 people found dead so far when we last heard from officials. We'll be hearing from them in just a little bit, a press conference either 7 or 7:30 tonight. We're expecting to learn more. We're heading there right after this. Live in Kerrville, I'm Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
All right, Garrett, thank you for that. And you know, when Kerr County officials spoke today, when they were talking about the number of people who had passed away, what they were saying is that they said that they didn't know where a lot of those people were from. They hadn't been identified, and so they were taking their fingerprints so that they can get more information on those people.
Yeah, there's a lot of things circulating. I know I'm getting a lot of text messages, pictures of some of the kids that are unaccounted for, or at least their families don't know where they are at this point, names of these children. I'm sure other loved ones, people outside of these camps that we keep talking about, are wondering where their loved ones are as well. We're going to stay on top of that. But for now, let's send it over to Adam, because Adam, you said something earlier that I thought was just kind of poignant and summed it up. This is not a rain story anymore. This is not about rainfall anymore. This is about the swell of that water that is still moving downstream.
Yeah, the rain is done, but the threat along the river is still significant. That's downstream, and that's this green highlighted area here. This is the Guadalupe River, and you can see the flood warnings aren't even around Kerrville anymore along the river, and they're just comfort eastward all the way to Canyon Lake. Here's another view of the Guadalupe River that we're talking about here. And, you know, think back to 2015 when it was the Blanco River and it was a deadly flood. It can be any of these waterways where you get the heavy rainfall, especially right at the beginning of the watershed and the basically the headwaters. So Ammons Crossing, I'm going to slowly zoom out for you. This is I-10, okay? Comfort, far left of your screen. And then we have Spring Branch right here. You see the Guadalupe River snaking its way up and down and around. And already that swell is just west of Spring Branch, probably around the Guadalupe River State Park area. But Amon's Crossing, this is where we have, there's a gauge, a river gauge, and that is now at 49 feet. I know I've been referencing that a lot because it's so astounding. At 2:30 p.m., that was at 5.4 feet. Now it's at 49 feet at 6:45 p.m. That's astonishing. And that's that swell of water that happens so quickly and is so significant. I mean, we're talking 44 feet of water in that area. Of course, it's going to vary elsewhere because of topography and local conditions and whatnot. But still, that swell of water is now headed toward Spring Branch. You've got Whispering Waterway right here. This is Whispering Waterway. You got to be cautious if you're living on the banks here. Saddlebrook as well. You're right on the banks, because the water is likely to be up over Highway 281 and probably several feet up over the bridge.
All right, Adam, thank you. I want to get us straight to Daniela Ibarra. She was standing by there at Moore High School, I believe, and that is where we have a helicopter that is coming in, presumably with some of these kids to be reunited with their families. Daniela, what's going on out there?
Hey, Myra, so that helicopter came from just behind me. We thought it was going to come over here, but it looked like it went farther down, so we don't know where it landed. But I will tell you that we did see a bus leave maybe just about 30 seconds ago to a minute ago. I couldn't get a good look, but it did look like there were people on the bus. I don't know how full the bus was. But so far, the road's been open. We've seen some people who look like they might have houses here. It's not any emergency vehicles. Like you can see this truck. They're heading back here. We've been here all day in Ingram, and when we first got here around 11 or so, this road was blocked off. You couldn't even make it half a mile past where we're standing. So the road's back open. There's lots of debris along the road. We showed you earlier some of the broken tree limbs, some of the trash, and there's a big plastic thing that I really can't make out what it is, but it's huge. It looks like it's maybe as tall as I am, so 5 feet long. But down here is where we've seen emergency vehicles go by. We saw some first responders with some rescue boats head that way. And I actually hear a siren coming up right now. So this is still pretty active over here. Just at the high school, we haven't seen much activity in the last 5 minutes other than that bus leaving about a minute or so ago. Hold on one second. We have some police officers coming up right here. They have their sirens and lights on right now. So we're rushing towards where a police officer told us earlier today that rescues were going on. The last time I got to speak with someone from law enforcement was about an hour and a half ago or so, but they told me that rescues are still going on here. So you can see they have their flashing lights and they're heading towards where some of the houses were affected earlier today. I'll send it back to you, Myra and Stephania.
Yeah, rescue's going on for more than 12 hours so far, as we have 400 to 500 first responders there at the scene, helping with this devastating flooding that we've seen throughout the day in Kerrville and Hill Country overall. We're going to take a break right now, and we'll see you on the other side of the break in just 2 minutes. Welcome back, my friends. So we continue our coverage of the devastating flooding that we're seeing in Hill Country and Kerrville in particular. That's been really the area of focus throughout the day. We know that at least 13 fatalities have been confirmed, but so many more people are unaccounted for. Rescues are underway. Our Courtney Friedman has been in Kerrville throughout the day now. Reports.
Courtney, a lot of damage behind you, trees downed. I mean, that's the kind of thing that Adam Caskey was talking about earlier, can be carried downstream as this water keeps moving.
Yeah, it's definitely dangerous. And the good news I can tell you, it's no longer raining here for the first time pretty much all day since we've been here this morning. And the river levels are holding steady. Now, as Adam Caskey has been saying, of course, this can fluctuate. So this doesn't mean it's safe, to come up close. We've seen a lot of people coming to take pictures of this area throughout the day. Lots of people coming just to see the damage, because look at all of this. I mean, this damage is extensive. We've been showing you these trees the whole time. But what we've been hearing and seeing are the helicopters. Yet another helicopter is about to pass. So we'll let you take a look, because there are multiple kinds of choppers out here. Let's see if Adam can get a look. Yeah, this to me looks like a military helicopter. One of the Black Hawk helicopters has been circling. This is a different type of helicopter than we've been seeing with the Coast Guard and DPS and Life Flight. So there are a bunch of different types of helicopters showing us how many people are aiding in this rescue effort. As the light dwindles, this has definitely been ramped up. Of course, we've been seeing this all day, but this is pretty consistent what you've been seeing. We know the military is now involved, and DPS, we're seeing a lot of that. But we did speak to some locals, the ones you heard from in our 6 o'clock live shot. They live right here across the street, have lived here forever, their whole lives. They're very in touch with this community. They have friends who are in search and rescue, and they do have someone that they know in the Coast Guard. And they were getting a bit of an explanation as to the Coast Guard are able to fly a little higher, they said, because they have thermal imaging. So that's why those helicopters in particular are so important, because that thermal imaging will show the heat map if there are people in trees or in the water that need to be rescued. So they've got that. DPS is out here, and we do have some of the choppers flying extremely low to the water. And as they fly by, it's easy to see someone sitting and crouched in the door, ready to jump in or help if there is a rescue that needs to happen. We've heard there are rescues somewhat close, but we've been here all day, so we have not seen, at least in this stretch, any ourselves with our own eyes. But we know that they're happening, and that hopefully adds some encouragement, because we know this is such a fatal event, but we also know there are reunifications and there are recoveries being made. So we're trying to stay positive in every way possible and try to be hopeful, especially for these families of the Mystic campers that we are keeping in our thoughts and prayers right now still. But one positive thing is to see that the rain has stopped. It's a lot more clear, even though it's foggy and misty, it's a lot more clear to see out here when the rain is not coming down, especially earlier. It was coming down extremely hard. But the river itself is still flowing, white caps. It's still flowing really quick. So again, I said this later, I don't think we can say it enough. If you are by the Guadalupe River specifically, please don't come down here, especially at nightfall, because the water levels are going to fluctuate, and we don't want to add more pressure to what first responders are already doing. We are seeing firsthand right here how hard they are working in many different capacities. So our hope is that we will start getting word on more recoveries. But for now, we're live in Kerrville. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
The one thing that we keep watching and that I want to make sure that people understand is that area of Kerrville, and thank you for that live report, Courtney. We asked Adam this question straight up just a few minutes ago, and he just told us about the flooding situation in Kerrville. They're out of the woods as far as that's concerned right now, even though there are continuous rescue efforts that are going on right now. But there's another challenge that people in Kerrville have right now, and that is power outages. Lots there. We're talking about 2,759 homes and businesses there in Kerrville without power. And remember, it's not 2,759 people without power, it's homes and businesses. So you have that many more people right now who probably can't use their phones or get on the internet right now to get information.
Yeah, and Courtney, I thought it was really interesting that she mentioned, Adam, as I know we have you standing by, she mentioned some of these first responders using thermal imaging technology to find people. I mean, we heard from a man that Sarah Acosta interviewed earlier who he and his wife clung to a crepe myrtle bush for 30 minutes. And when you think about how this water spreads everywhere, right? I mean, water knows no bounds. So people are clinging to whatever they can, and first responders are just hoping to find them.
And what was very telling in Courtney's shots, and if you want to pull up video, please do so, it doesn't matter, was how the force of the water toppling down those trees that are in some cases probably over 100 years old, right? The power and force it takes to bend over and down or fell a tree like that is significant. Now, when the ground is saturated, it's a little bit easier for trees and vegetation to be uprooted. Think about when you go out and pick weeds in the lawn and garden. If the ground is really dry, it's hard to pick those weeds. But when the ground is damp and moist, the weeds come out a lot easier. So some of those trees could even be uprooted and then carried downstream, and then log jam here and there, and that debris gets in the way. But I mean, bark stripped off the trees and the trees just leveled behind her. That's another thing that just illustrates the power. Now, that power of the river is headed to Spring Branch, down the Guadalupe. This is the forecast for the Guadalupe. Notice we get into the evening hours here, after sunset, and that's when it really spikes quickly. And I do anticipate Highway 281 to be underwater later on tonight, and the water to rapidly start rising here just within a couple of hours is when we'll have that rapid rise in the water. Not much on radar. One downpour in southeastern Gillespie County that's likely weakening. It had a little bit of lightning with it earlier. This should not be problematic other than some local rural low water crossings. Just exercise caution. The focus is the surge of water that's moving into the Guadalupe River. This is roughly the Guadalupe River right here. I'm outlining it in blue all the way to Canyon Lake. Canyon Lake is going to catch this water, should be just fine. But it's everybody that's now in Spring Branch, the wall of water, the surge of water, the rapidly rising water that's headed into Spring Branch as we speak. Okay, really quick look at our 7-day forecast tomorrow. Another round of rain. Heavy at times. I think late morning all the way into the afternoon, we could have more flooding issues again tomorrow. So that's what we're watching for the development into tomorrow, and then just isolated 20% chances Sunday, Monday, and on into Tuesday as well. Really quickly, I'm going to leave you with this as I toss to break. This is a longhorn in the river. Talk about power of water. Even a longhorn is struggling. Now, luckily, this longhorn did make it. He made it out, according to the Post here. We'll be right back.